And my advice to them was to not hear the noise as much, to continue doing the job that we've entrusted them to do.
I did. It was so fun. Oh my God, as a huge Disney fan, it was so exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast, so I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a...
Every Hollywood dilemma, from representation challenges to preserving traditional storytelling, can often be encapsulated in a single film. Disney's upcoming live-action Snow White seems to be that lightning rod. The swirling controversy, fan backlash, and endless online speculation surrounding Rachel Zegler's casting have overshadowed the film itself. Could this be Disney's most dramatic crisis in years? Let's dive into how one actress and a series of missteps turned a timeless fairy tale into a heated debate. When Disney's announced Rachel Zegler as Snow White, they presented her as a trailblazer who would reimagine the classic for a more inclusive generation. At first, fans were intrigued, some applauding the bold move, while others lamented the departure from the 1937 original's charm. Either way, Rachel's casting was impossible to ignore.
She's my best friend, and she's the one who sent me the casting notice and said, "Thank me when you're famous." It's the craziest thing ever that it came true in that weird way, and that's why I bring her everywhere, and she's the best ever. But yeah, I put myself on tape. It's the worst tape you've ever seen in your life. I have no idea how I got the part still, and it's being used to teach future casting directors at NYU.
Her red carpet appearances exuded confidence, and her social media posts began to stir mixed reactions. While some saw her outspoken nature as youthful passion, others labeled it as divisive. What started as a casting choice has evolved into a cultural battleground, testing Disney's vision, the power of nostalgia, and Hollywood's approach to inclusivity. Many believed Rachel Zegler's role as Disney's first full-length animated princess brought to life would be a true litmus test for the company's evolving values. Yet few could have predicted just how pivotal this test would become. Before production had even begun, Rachel's growing social media presence became a flashpoint of contention for many Disney fans. In one particularly bold statement, Rachel openly declared that those who disagreed with a specific political figure were welcome to unfollow her. While celebrities in Hollywood often express political opinions, this comment struck a nerve. Disney's brand has always been synonymous with unity, nostalgia, and family-friendly escapism, which makes its representatives' public personas critical to maintaining that
What was it like seeing yourself for the first time in full Snow White drag?
I love that description. It's perfect. Oh my God, well, when you get to wear Sandy Powell, first of all, insane, and then you get to be lit by Mandy Walker.
Rachel's unapologetic stance divided the fan base. For some, she was a fearless voice for her generation. For others, her comments felt jarring, out of sync with Disney's universal appeal. The fallout was palpable. Once united in curiosity over her casting, fans began to split into factions. Supporters rallied behind her boldness, while critics questioned whether she was the right fit for such an iconic role. It didn't take long for the cracks to deepen. Fans who might have shrugged off minor slip-ups became hyper-attuned to Rachel's every move, watching for the next misstep. And when it came, it arrived faster than anyone anticipated. A series of social media posts, perceived by some as combative or dismissive, further alienated a segment of Disney loyalists. What began as a casting choice full of promise now seemed to symbolize the growing tension between tradition and progress. For Disney, a company revered for bringing people together through magical, life-illuminating journeys to the past, the stakes had never been higher. Could Rachel Zegler lead the beloved Snow White into a new era? Or would the controversy surrounding her overshadow the film's potential legacy? Take a moment to recall Rachel Zegler's dazzling performance in West Side Story. Her portrayal was lauded by critics as groundbreaking, while fans marveled at her exceptional vocal talent. On the surface, Rachel seemed poised to take Hollywood by storm, exuding grace and humility. But as her star rose, subtle cracks in her public persona began to emerge, signs that the young actress might not be as modest about her newfound fame as she initially appeared.
The one where he was in the boxing ring.
Boxing ring, and Howard Cosell, who was a famous announcer for ABC Sports, introduced him. And I was asked at some point to get Mr. Sinatra Listerine. We're at Madison Square Garden. It's not like there's a Listerine store in Madison Square Garden. So So I dutifully ran out, found a drugstore of some sort. This is before CVS. This is 45 years ago.
Shortly after West Side Story garnered widespread acclaim and multiple Academy Award nominations, Rachel took to social media to express her discontent over not being invited to the 94th Oscars. Her frustration spilled into an angry declaration, lamenting her absence and sarcastically stating she would be wearing sweatpants that evening. While stars voicing grievances isn't uncommon, Rachel's public approach stood out. Instead of handling the matter discreetly, she turned to a highly visible platform, sparking an online firestorm. Fans and critics debated whether her actions reflected rightful indignation or a sense of entitlement unbecoming of a rising star. Disney eventually stepped in, securing her a spot at the Oscars. Yet the damage was done. Many began questioning whether her outspoken tendencies would bleed into her future roles. In hindsight, this concern feels prophetic. Fast forward to her promotional tour for Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Rachel once again made headlines for all the wrong reasons. During interviews, she candidly admitted that she accepted the role because she needed a job. While some found her honesty refreshing, others saw it as dismissive of the project and disrespectful to its fans. The remark reignited discussions about her public behavior, with some accusing her of failing to show gratitude for opportunities most actors could only dream of. Patterns began to form in the public eye. While Rachel dazzled on-screen with her undeniable talent, her off-screen remarks increasingly rubbed some fans the wrong way. Her penchant for vocalizing dissatisfaction, whether about career decisions or perceived slights, seemed to overshadow her work, creating a divide among her audience. As Rachel takes on one of Disney's most beloved and historic roles in the Snow White live-action remake, the question looms larger than ever. Can she temper her public image to embody the timeless grace and charm of a Disney princess? Or will the controversies surrounding her continue to cast a shadow on her career? As Disney embarked on a bold journey to reimagine Snow White, many believed that the magic of the original would serve as a guiding star for the reboot. After all, the 1937 animated classic wasn't just a film. It was a cornerstone of Disney's legacy, the very foundation of its global empire. But what unfolded left fans questioning whether the studio had lost sight of its roots.
The rice has to be body temperature, and if it takes too long to serve it, it's no longer body temperature. But what was interesting to me about him was he had 3 Michelin stars, and he was trying to learn how to get better, how to be better.
Yes.
And I showed that to executives at.
From the outset, whispers circulated that this remake would stray far from the beloved charm of the original. Few, however, anticipated just how drastic the changes would be. For many fans, the first signs of trouble came from none other than Rachel Zegler, the actress chosen to embody the iconic princess. In a shocking revelation, Rachel openly criticized the timeless tale, dismissing it as outdated. She even admitted to having only seen the movie once, explaining that it had frightened her as a child. For some diehard Disney loyalists, that was the moment the spell was broken. How, they wondered, could the essence of Snow White be honored if the actress portraying her didn't respect the story that birthed the character? Rachel's remarks, seen by many as dismissive, ignited a firestorm. Fans took to social media to voice their disappointment, questioning whether the creative team truly intended to preserve the heart and soul of the original. The backlash didn't stop there. Instagram posts woven together by different people without remarkable commentary and a focus on gender representation in civil. The media seized on Rachel's comments, amplifying them and painting her words as a direct attack on the cherished romance central to Snow White's narrative. The tale that had enchanted generations with its themes of love, courage, and resilience was now being reframed as outdated, irrelevant, and unrelatable. Critics argued that this departure from the original spirit could alienate audiences who held the classic close to their hearts.
She was like, Jacqueline, if they play Getaway Car or Moon, she's on crisis watch. Not only did she play Getaway Car, she also played Maroon. I was having a mental breakdown in the audience at MetLife Stadium.
What was once a project filled with promise now found itself at the center of a heated cultural debate. Could Disney truly balance modern inclusivity with the nostalgic charm of its first princess? Or would the remake lose the magic that had defined it for nearly a century? Rachel's controversial statements not only divided fans, but also raised questions about the very identity of the new Snow White. As the controversy grew, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a remake. It was a battleground, a clash between tradition and reinvention, between nostalgia and progress. And in the midst of it all, Rachel Zegler found herself as both the face of the film and a lightning rod for its critics. The new film will prioritize empowerment and independence, leaving behind the traditional romantic elements, Rachel stated confidently. While some applauded this modern shift as a progressive reimagining, others felt it stripped away the emotional core that made Snow White an enduring classic. The backlash was swift and fierce, with social media erupting in debates. Many devoted fans, disillusioned by this departure from tradition, vowed to boycott the film entirely. But the controversy didn't end there. The portrayal of the Seven Dwarfs in the remake added yet another layer of contention. Early glimpses revealed that the dwarfs had been replaced by a diverse ensemble of magical creatures, presumably to avoid perpetuating outdated stereotypes. While this creative decision may have been intended to modernize the story, it opened the door to a fresh wave of criticism. A heated debate ensued, particularly within the dwarfism community. Acclaimed actor Peter Dinklage praised Disney for taking a bold and progressive step, highlighting the importance of challenging harmful representations. Yet others within the same community voiced concerns, accusing the studio of hypocrisy and questioning whether the move truly served inclusivity or was merely a superficial attempt to avoid controversy. The dual controversies, Rachel's comments and the reimagining of the Seven Dwarfs, created a perfect storm for the project. Began as a hopeful reimagining of a beloved fairy tale, was now mired in debates about authenticity, representation, and the delicate balance between progress and tradition. As Disney grapples with these challenges, the question remains: can the studio reconcile its iconic past with its ambitious vision for the future? Or will this reimagining of Snow White forever be remembered as a cautionary tale about losing the magic in the pursuit of modernity? Production for Disney's Snow White was nothing short of chaotic, with rumored set leaks adding fuel to an already raging fire. Whispers swirled that only one of the seven dwarfs would actually be portrayed by a little person, while the others would be human-sized or entirely CGI creations. This ambiguity left fans infuriated, particularly those who had hoped to see the iconic seven brought to life in their original form. The uncertainty surrounding this creative decision sparked outrage, deepening the divide between supporters of the remake and those fiercely loyal to the 1937 classic. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the turmoil reportedly escalated. Stories of frantic screenplay revisions and spiraling budget overruns began to surface, painting a picture of a production teetering on the edge. Insiders speculated that Disney executives were deeply concerned about another high-profile misstep, akin to the debacle of Mulan, which had faced its own wave of criticism and backlash. Adding to the tension was Rachel Zegler's unrelenting critique of elements she deemed outdated in the original Snow White. Her comments, often bold and dismissive, only magnified the perception that this reimagined version would deviate so drastically from the original that it might become unrecognizable. Fans began to feel that the classic tale's essence was being lost in the name of modern reinvention. Rachel's attempts to address the uproar, however, did little to quell the controversy. In what seemed more like a carefully crafted statement from Disney's PR machine than a heartfelt apology, she appeared in a somber video claiming her remarks had been misunderstood. "I never intended to harm the legacy of Snow White," she said, her tone measured but devoid of the passion fans had hoped to see. Yet for many, the damage was already done. The video, instead of repairing her image, fueled further debate. Was this an honest attempt at reconciliation or simply damage control to salvage a project already weighed down by controversy? As talk of the film's deviations continued, Fans wondered if Disney's ambitious reimagining was losing sight of the magic and nostalgia that had made Snow White a timeless masterpiece in the first place. With scandals piling up and public sentiment growing increasingly divided, Snow White has become more than just a movie. It's a battleground of expectations, where tradition clashes with modernity and the stakes for Disney couldn't be higher.
Is not designed right now to necessarily develop great leaders or to encourage more people to seek public office. It just is far more difficult. Now, I've never been in it, but from what I observe, it's far more difficult to run for office today than ever before.
The internet has a sharp eye for inauthenticity, and Rachel's apology quickly became a lightning rod for criticism. Supporters turned detractors, flooded comment sections, labeling the statement as too little too late and blatantly insincere. Many likened it to a classic case of corporate damage control, devoid of genuine emotional accountability. What made matters worse was Rachel's failure to directly acknowledge the impact of her words on fans. Instead of mending fences, her comments seemed to deepen the divide, leaving many feeling further alienated. Each phrase of her statement appeared meticulously crafted to appease critics, without actually admitting any wrongdoing. This calculated approach backfired spectacularly. Meme pages pounced on the opportunity, mocking her apology with biting recreations and sarcastic captions. On YouTube, reaction videos dissected her every word and expression, amplifying the backlash. The consensus among many was clear. Rachel's apology wasn't about addressing fans' concerns. It was about saving face and salvaging a $200 million project from disaster. The fallout was brutal. Public sentiment coalesced around the idea that Rachel herself had become the film's Achilles heel. Her name became synonymous with the controversies plaguing the project, overshadowing any excitement for the movie itself. The narrative shifted from a hopeful reimagining of a beloved fairy tale to a cautionary tale of missteps and mishandled PR. As the saga played out in the public eye, Disney faced an increasingly grim reality. The mounting backlash not only threatened to tarnish Rachel's reputation, but also posed the terrifying prospect of Snow White becoming a full-blown box office disaster. The stakes had never been higher, and the question loomed: could Disney pull off a miracle? Or was their magical kingdom about to suffer one of its most catastrophic failures? No matter how the film performs, whether it succeeds or fails at the box office, many believe that Rachel Zegler's off-screen behavior will overshadow its legacy. What began as an ambitious attempt to breathe new life into a beloved princess tale has, unfortunately, devolved into a storm of modern-day controversies. Initially, Rachel's casting as Snow White ignited excitement and curiosity among fans, with many eager to see her take on the iconic role. But as time went on, her actions and outspoken comments only fueled a growing sense of resentment and disillusionment, leaving a shadow over what was meant to be a magical revival.
No, and I feel like it was like that for a lot of us. It's easier for me than it was for Tom because I wasn't playing a character that had already existed in the previous films. And those performances are wonderful, that you don't want to try to recreate anything because there's the fear of failing miserably. But also, it's 60 years before the original films take place, the original books. And Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire and both Mockingjay films, and Nina produced all of the Hunger Games content, they didn't put any pressure on us to try to recreate anything.
For some, Rachel's behavior became the story, overshadowing the movie itself. What should have been a joyous occasion for Disney fans instead turned into a whirlwind of conflicts, both online and in the media. The tension only deepened as Rachel's words and attitudes seemed to clash with the expectations surrounding her role in a classic Disney tale. What was intended as a return to fairy tale wonder turned into a battleground of opinions, with her controversial remarks at the center of the storm. As a lifelong Disney fan, I can't help but relate to the excitement many felt when Disney finally announced a chance to attend D23. Being from the East Coast, where tickets for such events sell out in the blink of an eye, I had always missed out on the opportunity to be a part of the Disney magic in person. But this time, I was able to go, and it felt like a dream come true. My love for Disney was something passed down from my mom, and while she was proud of my enthusiasm, she couldn't help but feel a bit of jealousy over the excitement I had for this unforgettable experience of being at the Willow Creek Mall as boys played with Disney's distractions under the movie theater. Am I the only one who feels this way about the visit? It was a moment I'd been waiting for, and despite the ongoing controversy surrounding Snow White, I couldn't let go of the childlike joy that Disney had always brought me. Especially for die-hard fans of the original Snow White, the controversies surrounding the film and its star have stirred an intense backlash. From politically charged outbursts to the unsettling irony of rejecting the very film she was hired to promote, Rachel Zegler's every move seemed to push Disney closer to the edge of a full-blown crisis. As the release date inches closer, despite the delays and controversies, one burning question looms. Can the movie still recover from the overwhelming negative press it has accumulated?
I did. It was so fun. Oh my god, as a huge Disney fan, it was exciting to finally get to go to D23. Yeah. I live on the East Coast. I was never able to go, and also tickets sell out like in a flash. So it was so exciting to go, and my mom was super jealous because my mom is the reason I'm a Disney fan.
Some argue that even bad publicity can translate into massive box office revenue, with curiosity driving moviegoers to theaters despite the storm of criticism. But others are less optimistic, warning that the vocal boycott efforts and widespread disenchantment with the film could spell disaster for Disney. In any case, this debacle serves as a stark reminder of how a single casting choice and the subsequent actions of a star can completely derail a studio's grand ambitions, shattering the illusion of a perfectly executed project. Where does Disney go from here? The path ahead seems uncertain. Do they risk further backlash by continuing to churn out remakes of their beloved classics? Or do they take this as a wake-up call, reevaluating their approach to retelling iconic stories for modern audiences? The challenges are immense, and the questions are pressing. Only time will tell if the House of Mouse can somehow recover from this tumultuous saga and reestablish the enchantment that once felt unshakable. Can they weave the magic back into their storytelling? Or have they unintentionally broken the spell and cracked the very foundation of their fairy tale empire? The outcome of this saga remains to be seen, but it's clear that Snow White may not just be facing a box office battle, it's facing a battle for the very soul of Disney's future direction. Will they overcome the backlash and restore the charm, or will this be remembered as the point when Disney's fairy tale dream shattered into 1,000 pieces?